Hey boy, get out of my way. It was the Patani girl who had asked Kasim to get out of the way. Kasim laughed and mocked her for being stubborn. Seeing this, the other young girls also started laughing. Enraged, the girl slapped Qasim. How dare you slap me? He charged towards her, his friends holding him back. But he was a man of revenge. When the university was empty, he took her to an empty room to intimidate her. But during the break, her scarf slipped from her face as she cried. Qasim's heart clenched. His beautiful, budding youth had swayed him. He had brought her there only to intimidate her. But the sight of her pulsating heartbeats had made him forget to blink. Shamim Khan, what are you still doing here? Come on, hurry to class. Sir must be back. When Faraz saw his cousin sitting in the library reading a novel, he spoke angrily. She was instantly terrified. Dude, I forgot. Professor Saeem has a class. He's going to kill me. She was terrified. Her face turned pale. Everyone in the library heard her speaking loudly, and her words, blow to ashes, made everyone burst out laughing. Quiet, please. Just then, the librarian walked in and, looking at them angrily, said, You guys go outside and talk. People are studying here. She lowered her eyes, embarrassed, and walked out with Faraz. So, please leave me in my class, she said, innocently looking at him. Faraz shook his head in refusal. My God, Sir Saeem taught us last semester. I barely managed to escape from him, Mom. Now, if I go in front of him again, he'll humiliate me in front of the new semester. Faraz had flatly denied the words that had brought tears to her eyes. She wasn't afraid of everyone, but she had heard plenty of such things about Sir Saeem Iham. Okay, now stop crying. I'll drop you off at your class. He took her with him and headed for room 14. They both stood at the door. Faraz knocked on the door and quickly disappeared. Now she was standing alone in the doorway. What time is it to come? Sir, please forgive me. I was sitting in the library studying. I didn't even realize how time had passed. Everyone there burst into laughter at her innocent Pathan accent. Let's be quiet. Her style was so cute. Even saying Ratu Agda sounded so cute. It was her Pathan accent, and it was always a data that came out of her mouth. A slight smile appeared on Sir Saeem's face, which he hid beautifully. And then, taking off his glasses, he stared intently at her face. Only her beautiful eyes were visible through the mask. But her voice and her manner made him feel as if he'd met this girl before, Ajbil. Despite racking his brain, he couldn't remember anything, so he said irritably, Okay, go and sit in class. Don't make this mistake again. It's your first class, so I'm forgiving you. The entire class was completely shocked because Sir Saeem hadn't spared anyone before, even if it was first day. He had a principle that anyone who was more than 15 minutes late to class had no place in the class. She sat down next to Maria, and her friend I exclaimed excitedly, Wow, I still can't believe Sir allowed you to sit in class. You don't know how much the seniors scared us about her. She felt as if she had become a celebrity. He was feeling incredibly proud of himself. The door opened again, and Qasim Khanzada entered without permission. Before he could even make his way to his seat, Qasim turned back. Oh, mister, where are you going? Do you have any manners, or have you left everything at home? Qasim glanced back, his brow furrowed at the sight of Saam. He was his father's partner and now his teacher. But he didn't like Sam at all. He was somewhat jealous of him because Sam had achieved so much success at such a young age, and only God knew what the secret behind those successes was. Why, sir, do you have a problem? He said sharply. Sim, Kanzdara, I know you and your father very well. I'm very disappointed. I never imagined your father would raise a son like this, a hagran like this. Hearing Sam's words, he looked up at him angrily, his brow furrowed. His eyes were red with anger. He couldn't allow anyone to talk about his father's upbringing and so, taking firm steps, he approached Sir Siam and stood before him. I forgive you, considering this your first and last mistake. If you ever talk about my upbringing again, I swear to God, I will tear your tongue out of your mouth and you will never be able to talk us again, O Darlo. Hearing this, a faint smile spread across Siam's lips. He looked at him in the same tone and then patted his shoulder. And this is your first and last mistake, threatening me. Or if you threaten me again, you won't be able to walk. Now get lost. He spoke so loudly that everyone in the class trembled with fear. No one had the courage to utter a single word. Qasim stomped his feet in anger and left. Shamim whispered into Marie's ear, who was sitting beside her with frightened eyes. Hey, he's as sweet as he is grumpy. Baby, be thankful he let you sit in class. If he had humiliated you like that, what respect would you have left in front of everyone? You're absolutely right. You know, I recited Ayatul Kursi before leaving home. That's why I was saved. She spoke with such innocence that Maria fell head over heels in love with her. As she left the class, Qasim was standing right in front of her with some of his friends. Samad had already seen her in class. So he patted Qasim on the shoulder and said, look at that girl's eyes. They're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. If eyes are so beautiful, then her face must be a piece of the moon. I wish she could remove her veil once so we could see her beautiful face. The ugliness in his tone was clear. Come on, friend, I'm in a bad mood right now. Come with us. We'll brighten your mood too. This time, Sarma spoke in a tone of amusement. Qasim understood the meaning of his words clearly. So, looking angrily at his face, he said, you know, I've given up all that work and have become a good person. He hadn't even finished speaking when all the boys in the group burst out laughing. Just shut up, man. I repented the night before, really. The group's laughter was uncontrollable for even a moment. When Shamim passed by with her friend, her eyes involuntarily met Qasim's, but the next moment she lowered her eyelids and Qasim felt like he was drowning himself in a pool of blood. But he had never seen such beautiful and captivating eyes before, and the unique sparkle in them made him ponder. He stared at her back until she vanished from his sight. This time, Sarmad slapped his hand hard and said to Sharara, friend, I was talking about this girl. Foundation. You've seen how beautiful she is and what a sight her eyes are. I think I'll drown in her eyes someday, but he said this in a playful tone, his hand on his heart. None. Instantly, Qasim grabbed him by the neck. You bastard, if you ever talk about your sister-in-law like that again, I'll kill you, you. All the boys looked at him in surprise at his sudden change of heart. He had just said he'd reformed, and now he'd made that same girl his sister-in-law. Hustling and hollering at Qasim was everywhere. All the boys in his group were praising him for his excellent taste. Sikandar, standing a short distance away, sighed and said, you guys better stay away from that princess. What do you mean by that? Do you think we're street urchins? Qasim didn't like what he said at all. My father is in politics. My elder brother is a big businessman, and soon I too will enter politics. There's a lot of money in my family, and my grandfather is a big landowner. The amount of land we own could create a state. Rochak. He probably didn't like his friends well, so he listed his wealth in one brave hold. I'm not talking in that sense. Qasim Sikandar immediately explained himself. I was just saying that you know Faz very well, and she is Faraz's cousin, Aita Malaun. I've heard they're even engaged. These two girls were sitting behind me and constantly mentioning Faraz's name, which clearly shows that he has a crush on his cousin, Lahagan. Just stop making up stories, friend. I'll see that girl myself, and if they're really having an affair like this, how long will it take her to end? With that, he burst into a mischievous laugh again, while his friends also began to smile widely. Today he had treated all his friends. When they sat down in the cafeteria, she was sitting right in front of them. At that moment, Sir Sayam also entered the cafe. The girls, seeing him, started gesturing to each other, but Khanzad's eyes were fixed solely on the girl whose lake-like eyes the fear in them had Gabaulaya tickled gone below him. He usually didn't go to the cafe area. He rarely came, always taking his coffee and going straight to the office. But today he had come and sat down, and the entire cafe was abuzz with whispers. Every girl wanted to attack him somehow. But the man, unconcerned about everything, was engrossed in his mobile phone as if he had nothing more important to do. Maria, with her face in her hands, was intently observing his handsome Sir Lalimi. Have you gone mad? What kind of antics are you doing? Shamim asked, slapping her hard on the waist. She sat up in a wailing fit and screamed, "Oh my God, hit me." "Who can hit me that hard?" "Oh, my delicate waist." Sim Khan looked at the table in front of her. Shamim was deeply embarrassed and tried to signal her friend to be quiet, but Yariya Vidur Bialalia by the Baplanin. Perhaps her intention was also to attract her teacher, and she had succeeded to some extent. Friend, please be quiet. Sir is looking at us. What will he think of us? That's why I am yelling, so that he looks at us. Maria winked at her, and she got up angrily and left. Shamim followed her out of the cafe. At that very moment, Samkhan's eyes fell on Qasim, who was intently watching the girl as she left, and in that very moment, he felt as if someone had taken his heart in their grasp. For the first time in his life, he had liked a girl. For the first time, he had taken an interest in a girl's caste. How could he allow another man to stare at his would-be bride like that? He even clenched his fist in anger. It was around midnight. Qasim entered the house, lounging around. But seeing Sam Khan sitting in the lounge, his brow furrowed. He was about to leave for his room without greeting him when he stopped at his father's voice. Then, looking at his face awkwardly, he said, "Assalamu alaikum." "Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?" "I'm perfectly fine, but your situation doesn't seem right to me, Qasim Hasim. I was just talking to your father about this a while ago." "Father, please tell them to stay out of my affairs." "Be quiet, Qasim Hind. I've heard so many complaints about you, and I didn't expect anything from you. I haven't abused anyone, and you can ask them why they talked about my upbringing. Just do it, Qasim. Just do it. And go quietly to your room. I'll deal with you later. Right now, I'll ask you what you were doing in the red light area." Hearing Papa's words, his expression changed completely. He glanced up at Saim Khan, who was smiling strangely and intently at him. That night, as he was returning from that area, Saim Khan's car was parked at the exit, and he suddenly became extremely worried. He knew that this complaint would immediately reach his father. But a few days passed in silence and peace, and he, too, had forgotten the incident. Today, when his father repeated this, he lowered his gaze and said, "Whoever complained to you about this isn't innocent. And I'd like to tell them to clean their own laundry first and then stop interfering in other people's affairs." And Papa, I'll explain one thing to you clearly. This is the first and last time I'm risking everything to you. If you ever get influenced by anyone and ask me questions like this again, I'll leave this house without a word. He stood up angrily, but he didn't pay any attention to them and went to his room. His mood had completely soured. He just returned from dinner with his friends a short while ago and was in a good mood. But that man named Siam had ruined everything. I'll kill you. If I get the chance, just once, he'd said to himself with hatred, looking him in his eyes. While his father sat outside holding Siam Khan's hand, he spoke firmly. I apologize on my son's behalf and I promise to repay your debt very soon. My company is making some losses these days and I'm also failing in politics. Oh, no, you don't need to worry about that. I don't need any money, nor will I bother you. I just wanted to tell your son to stay out of my business. Miss, stay away from me. He misbehaved with me today. If I wanted to, I would have him banished right then and there. And you know very well that I do whatever I say, Malu. He looked him in the eye and spoke in a strange tone. He was threatening him, but his tone was as if they worked closely. Then Wali were close friends. Yes, son, I know all this very well. And thank you very much for sparing my son. Let's go, Uncle. I'm leaving now. I'll see you again very soon. Well, I don't want our discussion to be about this topic every time. But what can I do? Your son just doesn't come back to the right path. I've reformed many people like him, and God has even taken some of them into his care, Amoda. I don't want your son to be one of those reformed people. After threatening them again, Sam Khan crossed the threshold of that house smiling. He was not only a teacher, but under the guise of a teacher, he was a big businessman and an even bigger gangster. Very few people knew his true identity. Junai Sahib was one of the few people who knew everything about Sam Khan. Oh God, what should I do with that boy? He thought worriedly and then called out to his son in a loud voice. He hadn't gone out when he heard his father's voice. He had heard all the threats Sam had made and was planning to talk to his father about it the very next day. But as always, the next day, his father silenced him. Shamim, who was currently having lunch with her family, asked, "How was your day today, son?" Hearing her mother's words, she smiled and gave a thumbs up. That's great, Ed. I just hope you'll finish your degree as soon as possible and then I'll talk about your marriage with Faraz. A sweet smile spread across her lips. Faraz, who was sitting in the chair across from her, smiled broadly. He was her uncle's son. They had been engaged in childhood. They loved each other immensely. I'm looking forward to the day when I see my witch sister become a bride, Kamraman said, and she glared at him angrily. Actually, the atmosphere in their home was very friendly. They didn't hesitate to talk about anything, and this friendly atmosphere was thanks to their mother. Besides being a businesswoman, she also worked with several NGOs. She was very kind and compassionate. Shamim's father, however, was a prominent businessman who had been running his business for a long time. He even had some settlements outside the country. As she was about to go to her room, she heard Faraz's voice. "Come for 2 minutes. I need to talk to you about something important." With that, he went into his room. He used to live in the hostel here, but ever since Shamim's family moved here, he had living at their house, Mazam. There was no restriction on him. Everyone loved him wholeheartedly. "Are you having any problems at the university?" He was initially shocked by his question, but then quickly shook her head, saying, "No, I don't have any problems. I'm very happy. And most importantly, I found my friend." When she mentioned Maria, Faraz's brow furrowed. I don't like that girl. Stay away from her. How can I stay away from her? I've heard from many boys that she's flirting with everyone, and you'll only bring yourself in. You're dating with a girl like that, Titi Balda. I don't want anyone to talk about your character in any way. Boy's job is to gossip. I know her well. She's very good-natured. I like her very much. She's very nice. I'm sure she'll never trap me, and you don't need to worry. I'm not a little girl who can understand a person. I can sense the other person's nature. Her words made Faraz laugh because whenever she messed up something, she would come crying to him, Baguda. Okay, madam. Don't come crying to me again, saying I ruined it. What should I do now? He asked, imitating her. She made a face and stomped away. Faraz watched her leave with love. Shamim, madam, it's only 2 years, Naz. Then you'll be mine forever. He prayed to God in his heart and laid down to sleep, dreaming of Shamim Neem. She had university the next day. Shamim left the library, and Kasim was already there with his friends. She was about to pass by him when he said, "Hey, Hasina, where are you going?" "Without showing me your face." She clenched her fists in anger. Her Pathan blood was raging. In her family and her village, such behavior was considered extremely offensive. For a boy to approach a girl in such a manner, to challenge or tease her, insult in such a manner. She barely controlled herself, ignored him, and started walking forward when he stood in front of her. "Oh, that sweet, delicate girl, with those lovely blue eyes, I'm asking you something." "Where are you going?" He said again in that same tone, "Hey, boy, get out of my way. Otherwise, no one will be worse than me." He burst out laughing, so much so that his eyes welled up with the tears. The girl had said angrily, "You're so rude. Get out of my way. Wait, what will you do if you don't?" He had said this, glaring at her in a challenging manner, mocking her, and Shamim was itching to tear her face apart. No one had ever had the courage to make fun of her. "I'll take your life with my own hands. I just want you to strangle me and touch me with those beautiful, sweet hands of yours." He had spoken in such a strange tone, and there was so much filth in his eyes, that Shamim couldn't control herself. Suddenly, her hand was raised, and she had slapped Qasim hard across the face of Wilham. "How dare you!" Even Qasim hadn't expected the girl to raise her hand on him. He was completely out of control. Sarmad and the rest of his friends rushed forward and tried to restrain him, but he was unstoppable. "Little girl, get out of here or it'll be very bad." Sarmad immediately advised her to leave, and without a moment's delay she ran towards Faraz's class. He was utterly shocked to see his cousin there. He quickly approached her and asked, "Shamim, what's wrong?" "What's wrong? Oh, why are you so nervous? Did someone say something?" For a moment he felt like telling his cousin everything. But then she realized that the university would be in an uproar, and the matter would ultimately come back to her, because everyone would be asking what started the fight, and the reason was the same. And so she fell silent. "I am feeling a little unwell, and I have to go back home. But we had plans to go out today. And what happened to you? I think you're very scared. Look, if anyone said anything to you, you can tell me." No one said anything to me, and no one can say anything to me." She spoke with such arrogance that Farah remained silent despite his wishes. He knew Khurram Sahib loved his daughter immensely, and it was only because of her father's support that she walked with such arrogance, and she deserved to be arrogant, Uriya. After all, she was the family's beloved and youngest daughter, the only sister of 3 brothers. "I'm going back home." "You call the driver." She insisted on going home again, and Faraz reluctantly remained silent. Shortly after, she returned home with the driver. All night, she brooded over what had happened. Should she tell Faraz about this? She asked herself. Otherwise, the matter would escalate, and her grandmother might not even allow her to go to university. She had already been again sending her outspoken and beautiful granddaughter to university, but Kuriam and Amna Begum had silenced her. At 1 a.m., she went to her grandmother's room. Looking at her granddaughter's face, she knew for sure that something was wrong and that her mind was completely confused. When she opened her arms, she went and hugged her and lay down with her head in her lap. "What's wrong? Is there a problem?" Hearing her grandmother's words, she nodded quickly. "Then talk to your father or your brother," she said, running her fingers through her hair. "If you talk, it will escalate things. And I don't want to tell anyone about this. Then it's fine. Ask Allah for help." She thought it might be a minor incident. Little did she know that her granddaughter had committed a terrible act. Grandmother gently ran her fingers through her hair and she lay in her lap with her eyes closed. She was feeling relieved, but she didn't know that peace was about to vanish from her life. The entire university had emptied, but she was still sitting in the library, waiting for her driver. When the last student left, the librarian said, "Son, I have to close the library now. It's getting late. You should go outside and wait for him." She immediately came to her senses. She looked at the clock and saw it was 5 p.m. But there was still no sign of the driver. She was becoming increasingly angry. Faraz hadn't arrived yet. He was out of town on an important business, and her brothers weren't in town either, having gone to the village to check on the status of the land and resolve some issues. Her father was busy in his office. She didn't want to disturb her father either. She called home again to tell her mother to send the driver quickly or to find why he hadn't arrived yet to shut it. But no one was answering her calls at home. Confused, she left the library. Before she could leave, someone grabbed her hand and pulled her back. Barak. She tried to scream, but a strong masculine hand immediately clamped her mouth tightly. Despite her efforts, she couldn't utter a word. Tears welled up in her eyes, filled with helplessness. Before today, no stranger had ever touched her. She had never even allowed Faraz to come close to her or hold her hand. It all seemed so wrong to her. She believed only in marriage. She had kept herself very composed. And yet today a man was forcibly dragging her away without her permission. What was he gonna do to her? The thought of this made her mind go blank. Meanwhile, Qasim dragged her into an empty room. "Did you think you would humiliate me in front of everyone and I would just leave you, Ehtu?" He pushed her to the ground and asked her, and she screamed, "You don't know how big a mistake you're making. If my father finds out, he'll kill you. I know girls like you very well. It's incredibly difficult to get permission to study in this city, and here you come and make up stories about your father and tell them to others. If you think I'll believe your lies, you're mistaken. Now I'll do everything to you that will make you incapable of slapping a boy, not to mention incapable of even leaving the house, Ayude." He spoke with such anger that she trembled with fear. She realized that showing her anger was pointless. Instead, she would only harm herself. So she began to apologize to him. "For God's sake, leave me. Let me go. I'm ready to apologize to you." The girl who had never said sorry to anyone before. Today she was falling at a man's feet, begging for her honor. Perhaps if any other girl had been in her place, she would have done the same. Because for a girl, her honor is above all else, something she cannot compromise on. At that very moment, Qasim pulled her scarf. The veil fell from her face while her silky hair cascaded down her back. She stared into Qasim's eyes like a frightened deer. Her beautiful face was before him. For a moment he thought he had seen an angel. How could a woman be so beautiful? He thought involuntarily. He was lost in her weeping eyes and her flushed cheeks. "Zamaneli, you are so beautiful." Her lips moved just slightly, but she immediately understood what Qasim had said. Her heart filled with hatred. Qasim was drowned in her beauty. For a moment he had become a stranger, and Shamim had taken advantage of this. Suddenly his eyes fell on a nearby wooden chair, which he picked up and smashed hard on Qasim's head. He screamed in pain. She immediately ran away, picking up her scarf. Qasim had made the mistake of sending all his friends back. Oh, he had told them he would deal with the girl himself. But Sikandar hadn't left, instead staying behind for his friend. When he saw the girl running away, he didn't chase her. Instead, he stepped aside to give Shamim space to escape, as he himself had 3 sisters. He knew how important it was to respect a girl. He had previously advised Qasim not to do this, as it was wrong. But Qasim had instead rebuked Sikandar, threatening him that if he opened his mouth again, he would take revenge for the girl's slap. And Sikandar knew all too well how far Qasim could go. That's why he was forced to remain silent. And now when Shamim ran out of the room, he felt elated and didn't try to Zahar. Leaving her, he went inside towards his friend. When Qasim saw him, he shouted, "Catch her, watch at her." But he ignored him and quickly came to him. And instantly Qasim's vision darkened and he fell unconscious to the ground. When he regained consciousness, he was in the hospital, smiling continuously. His friends began to doubt his mental state. I think he suffered a severe head injury. That's why he's laughing instead of getting angry. Sarmat immediately asked, "Qasim, have you gone mad?" Sikandar grabbed his arm and shook him, and he quickly opened his eyes and said, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Why are you teasing me? A girl hit you on the head with a chair and ran away. She's badly injured you. Because of her, you've been deeply wounded, and instead of taking revenge, you're laughing. Shut up, all of you. Listen carefully to me. From today on, you'll call her Babi. You won't say anything bad about her. And this time I'm serious." Saying this, he started smiling again. Oh, it seems that the man has fallen in love with that beauty. Yes, I'm starting to like her, and I'll marry her very soon. You guys should also keep this in mind. She will be my wife, and it's your duty to respect her. Bakada. If I catch any of you even looking at her, I'll take even lives with my own hands. You couldn't even say anything to that